How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Wiley, and this is gonna be part two in the series that I did on masturbation, in the series that I'm doing on masturbation. And I just got through working out, getting a little workout in, so y'all gonna have to excuse me. But the Holy Spirit told me to go ahead and get this in. And if you haven't seen part one, I advise you to go back. Stop this video right here. Go back and watch part one, because I'm not gonna go over the same stuff in part one, but a lot of the things in part one sets up part two. And in this part, we're dealing with disease and how masturbation will be the number one cause of diseases and cancers and physical issues in our last day. And if you've seen part one, then you know that won't sound funny to you, because but I'm gonna give a good summary of it scientifically and physically, why this happens. Pray with me. Dear Heavenly Gracious Father, please, Lord, let me disappear and let your Holy Spirit speak, Father. Amen. Now, and I can see why the Lord would have me retouch on this, because this is a serious issue affecting us all, especially in these last days. We're talking about our children, things of that nature, to where from TV shows to life in general, you got doctors and people who are saying that masturbation is okay, and it's become termed as the safe sex, things of that nature. But really, it's a killer. It's the devil's gateway. It's the devil's gateway to most drugs, from prescription to alcohol to all the crazy orchestrated man-made drugs. But it is the killer, and it's the number one breakup in most homes. Oh yes, it is. It's the number one breakup in most homes. But I dealt with that in part one. So let me just jump. Let's get right into this part two. Now, in part one, I showed how what it does with the body. Every time when you masturbate and you orgasm. Now remember, we're all grown here, and your body is thinking that it's making a baby. So your body is giving all of the best juices inside, the best vitamin 12, the best vitamin B, all of your best juices inside of you. And so, especially like for men and for women. So when we do these things, uh, and you turn usually the habit. Usually you might develop a habit, which people who usually start to masturbate on a daily, regular basis. I've known brothers who had a habit who blatantly would tell you, yeah, I do it twice a day or three times a day. What happens is, let's take the sponge. Now we're just gonna say you got a moderate habit of every other day or every 2 days. You have a sponge, right? What happens is, once you orgasm and you partake in these things, and also like I showed in the other part, your brain, because you're fantasizing and dealing with imagination, your brain also releases certain chemicals also. So your body is releasing all of these chemicals that's stored and saved up. And before I get into the sponge analogy, before I get into the Holy Spirit told me to reiterate this. When you're having sex the right way, your brain doesn't have to release certain amounts of the certain chemicals to deal with the imagination, because it's more of the physical and the mental. Masturbation is more of the mental, even though it does have involving the physical, which we'll get into that too, which I got in on part one, how the physical, when it's your flesh on your flesh, your body isn't getting the complement of that it needs. And what I mean is, when a man has sex with a woman, the estrogen inside of a woman complements the testosterone of a man, and it's vice versa. When a woman has when the testosterone inside of a man complements the estrogen inside of a woman. God designed us that way. Let me say it again. God designed us that way. But when it's skin on skin, when my skin is on my skin, say my hand is on my Johnson, then it's testosterone on testosterone. So the complement of the estrogen is missing, and my body doesn't get that. And all men need certain levels of estrogen once they reach a certain age inside to complement the testosterone. And same thing with women. Certain women, when they reach a certain age, need the complement of testosterone inside of them to complement the estrogen. And so now, when it's just you on yourself, Whether you if you're a woman, it's estrogen on estrogen. Man is testosterone on testosterone. And which causes, I brought all of that up to say we have to talk about this because when you're making love to your wife, and wives, when you're making love to your husband, yes, there's some mental aspect in it, because intimacy is has a lot to do more to do with mental. Yes, there's a mental aspect to it, but you don't have the fantasizing aspect doesn't have to come into play. So those juices from in our mind, that our brain, those chemicals, juices was not the word to say, especially when talking about masturbation. But so those chemicals that our brain releases when we're fantasizing and using our imagination on high levels doesn't have to be released on a high level. And so our brain actually retains those things when you're making love the right way. So this is what happens. So not only does your brain release chemicals because it's fantasizing and it's imagining certain things, but your body is also releasing chemicals because your body is being told, hey, I'm creating another life. So your body gives the best and your brain releases these chemicals. So what happens is, what why that comes into the sponge analogy is, if I do that, let's say every other day, I wring out a sponge, right? When you wring out a sponge and you open it back up, it doesn't have the quite juices or the fluid in it like it did before, right? Remember, this sponge is your body. We're gonna say that this sponge is your body. So let's say you're like the normal average person who doesn't eat what they're supposed to eat and drink what they're supposed to drink. So that day and a half, we'll say 2 days pass before you masturbate again. You're not putting the proper chemicals and things back in your body, and then you masturbate again. So you take that already dried out sponge and you wring it out again. You wring it out some more. You open it up. So now it's even more drier than it was before. And again, 2 days pass, you're not eating right, you're not drinking right, you're not putting the chemicals back inside your brain that your brain needs, and you're not putting the chemicals back inside your body that your body needs. So now 2 days pass and you do it again. You get the analogy. So now you wring out that sponge again, and it was already super dry. Now it's even more dry. You're wringing it out some more, and this is your body we're talking about. So you say, Josh, what does this have to do with diseases? Well, beloved, after wringing out your body, of all the chemicals that your brain needs and that your body needs, and by not supplying them back again, you know, after a long period of time, even short periods, after a period of time, your body starts to take from other areas inside of it to compensate for what it's lacking. Here comes the diseases. Here comes the cancers. Because you're steady uh, wringing out your brain of its chemicals and your body of its chemicals, and you're not replenishing it at the high rate that you're releasing it. And so it could, and because your body compensates for it by taking from other places inside of it, your body will eat off itself to get, if it can get zinc off your liver, it'll start eating off your liver. If it can get say vitamin, let's just make up something, vitamin 11Q off of your kidneys, it will start eating off your kidneys. Yes, it will. And so this is how diseases and cancers are made. This is how diseases and cancers are made. So that is why Ellen G. White, said, I got this info from Ellen G. White, y'all. I read a book. My mom had a book. I was 15 years. No, I was locked up when I was 15. I want to say I was 13. I was 14 or 13 when I saw this book on my mom's counter. It said God invented sex, and it had excerpts in it about that Ellen White stated about masturbation. And one of the things I found, see, I only saw the sex part, so I went and opened it up. I was like, "Ooh, a book about sex. What is my mom doing with this?" You look around like, "What is she doing with this?" And so I started reading it though, in that book, and the things in it helped me tremendously throughout my life. Especially being that I would develop a heavy masturbating habit for being locked up over a quarter of my life. So So everything I'm telling you is also out of experience, is more out of experience from testing and comparing what I read and what I studied. But one of the things that she said was that it will be the number one cause of cancers. That will be the leading. Let me change that. It will be the leading cause of many cancers in the last day. And she also said that many doctors and things would say it's okay, which they do, which they do. But look at the agenda though. Doctors get paid. They get extra money from every prescription that they fill out. If you, let's just say, most physicians, not knocking them in any type of way, but most doctors aren't there to heal you. Let me say it again: most doctors aren't trying to heal you, just maintain you. But anyway, when you look at the analogy of the sponge, how you wring out your body and the chemicals in your brain and the chemicals in your body on a regular everyday occurrence after years, then it's easy to see how cancers will develop. This will start develop. This will start. I have lung issues and I want to stop right now. And when I want to ask everybody on my ministry, please pray for my body and the healing of my lungs and the healing in my chest. I don't even know if it's really just my lungs, but I have some serious issues that I've been wrestling with for the past couple years, and the Lord is healing. And I'm in His hand. But please pray for me. Just lift me up in prayer. Only take 1 minute. I really appreciate that. But I know a lot of my issues even came from this habit, because like I say, once you have this habit and you do it over long periods of time, none of us really eat and drink like we're supposed to. None of us really eat and drink like we're supposed to. So you're not replenishing your body of its chemicals as fast as you're bringing them out, which is causing the cancers, which is causing the heart disease, the lung disease, which is causing all of these things. And it's the sleeper. It's the sleeper in your life that's killing you. And the devil knows it. The devil knows it. That's why he wants it to be deemed as okay nowadays. That's why he wants people, they don't care. Y'all can see all my little stuff in the background. But that's why he wants to deem it as okay nowadays. Why? Because uh if you're sick physically, that drains you a lot spiritually. You know, if you're sick physically, you can't get out there and do the work like you really want to. If you're sick physically, that's more reason to get down and depressed. Like I went through this past 4 years. That's why if you look at my YouTube videos, in the past 3 years, they dwindled. And it was because I was sick. I was heavily depressed. I wasn't like some people. Some people can deal with death and thoughts of death and be like a soldier with it and just like, okay, I'm good. I'm not me. I was a mess. Went back to drinking, smoking, and the smoking was just hurting my chest even more. But I was just depressed, like seriously depressed. I would have all these crazy thoughts and visions and thoughts of me dying, and I have 6 kids. So please keep me in prayer, y'all, because I've reached a point now to where whether God heals me or not, I'm gonna serve him, and I'm gonna do what he tells me to do. And I love him. He's my best friend. I brought all of this mess on myself. How can I be mad at him in any type of way? So I gotta spread the truth, and I gotta spread it. It is the killer. I guarantee. If you have people in your life who are sick and their bodies is just falling apart, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. Yo, you got a masturbation habit? They might look at you a little crazy at first, but be like, maybe you need to stop that and think about it yourself. I'm here to tell you, you might not have no issues now, but prolonged use, you will. It's guaranteed. It produces, like I say, and it's scientific. It's scientific, but they don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you that because, like I say, medicine is big business. Medicine is big business. As long as y'all keep coming in there, as long as we keep coming in there with issues, they'll keep getting paid. They'll keep getting paid. And I'm telling you, masturbation is the monster in the closet. It's the one thing that everybody's not putting into the equation. When you think about heart disease, when you think about high blood pressure, when you think about diabetes, are you putting your masturbation habit into the equation? No, because you're not thinking about that. You probably, many of us have been squeezing the juices out of our bodies for years. For years. So it only makes common sense that our bodies are starting to break apart, and the bacteria, basically our bodies are going to start rotting from the inside out because of the things that it lacks. from the things that it lacks. Now, in the next video, I'm gonna show how masturbation is one of the leading causes to homosexuality. Yes, and yes, it is. And like I said, in the next part, that's what I'm gonna deal with. In part 3, we're gonna deal with how masturbation is the leading cause of homosexuality. Look, because I read this at 14, 13 or 14, whenever I read it, and I started going into prison, in and out of boys' home, I started testing and comparing it in myself. When I wasn't masturbating, my strength was up, my strength was high. You ever see somebody, there used to be a joke to go around, like a guy be super strong and they be like, oh, he needs some sex quick. You know what I mean? Look, beloved, you'll be surprised what the people who really run our world really know and how long they've known these things. But I even tested it in myself. When I wasn't masturbating, my mind was sharper. Why? Makes common sense. My brain was full of the juices that it was supposed to have. My body was stronger. Why? Because my body had all the juices that it was supposed to have. And it's like you leveling out your car. Like when you go for a tune-up and they say, oh, we're going to top off all your levels. Your body is topped off on all its levels when you're not masturbating. But when you're masturbating, you know, and then on top of that, none of us really eating like we're supposed to, so we're not compensating and putting back the chemicals in our bodies, in our brain and in our bodies like we're supposed to, which causes cancer and disease, beloved, and they know it. That's why they say, oh, it's the safer sex. Masturbating, it's the safer sex. Beloved, tell your children. Don't think your children are too young to have this conversation, not with phones and all the access to things that they're going on. Have this conversation with them, because like I say, it was a lifesaver to me to know it as a young adult, and you'll be surprised with them knowing it, how they'll already be on the lookout for it and certain things. Have that talk with them, you know, have that talk with them. Teach it, because you might miss out to where you can't have that talk with them. But beloved, I'm gonna go on to end this, but like I say, part 3, we're gonna deal with masturbation and homosexuality. Masturbation and homosexuality. But beloved, look, it can be a lifesaver in your home, to your spouse. If your spouse is always sick, doesn't have no ambition, no energy, your children always sick, don't have no energy, no ambition, you get tired from just walking and doing regular stuff, do you have a masturbation habit? You know, are diseases always forming inside you? You know, you'll be surprised what you might change in yourself once you stop masturbating. Let's have that talk. This is the elephant. This is today's elephant in the room, you know. And like my other YouTube page is actually gonna be titled The Elephant in the Room. I'm gonna change the name to The Elephant in the Room, where I'm gonna deal with everyday life issues that other people won't talk about. Everyday life issues that other people are scared to talk about. Y'all, please lift me up in prayer. My health, like I say, I brought this on myself. I only have myself to blame. I've been incarcerated and locked up over a quarter of my life. I've literally been locked up now 26 times. 26 times. And so you best believe, trust me, I had a real bad masturbation habit that even carried on to me in the street and in my home. But it's the silent killer in our lives. Look, somebody might say, well, Josh, why aren't you talking about prophecy? Why aren't you talking about this? Look, what good does it do for me to teach you prophecy if the devil is still gonna make you miss out on the kingdom because of things that's going on in your personal life and in your bad habits? Beloved, I'm trying to get to the root of the issue, because you don't have to know no prophecy as long as your soul is right with God. Oh yeah, let me say that again. You don't have to know no prophecy. You could have it all wrong, not know about the mark of the beast, none of that. But if you are divinely connected to Jesus and you are right with him and your soul is right, you're going to heaven anyway. So all of these ministers and all of these ministries that are teaching you prophecy, I'm not knocking it, because they could be doing God's work. I don't know, but I'm here to tell you, I want to get to the root of the problem. Why should I teach you prophecy if masturbation is killing you and going to keep you out of heaven anyway? Let's get to the root of the issues. That's why I did the series on the story of Lucifer, which I'm not done. And that's why it's going into this God of self. Beloved, Lucifer is a servant of self also. There's a monster even over Satan himself. Satan is a servant of self also. So that's why I dealing with this series on Lucifer, on Satan, and on self. On self. Why? Because self is a monster. And masturbating is self's sex. Think about it. This God of self, this little demigod of self, masturbating is his sex. Is his sex. And there's only death. The wages of self is death. Let's say it like this. The wages of serving self is death. God has his diet, self has his diet. God has his way to make love and have sex, self has his way to make love and have sex. Is, is it ironic that everything dealing with self ends in death or involves death? Everything with God involves joy in life. Look, y'all, this thing is deep. Be honest with yourselves. Be honest with the people around you. You never know what life you can save. That's what I'm all about. Bump, I could teach you the 2300 day prophecy all day. We could learn about the sanctuary all day. But if a monster is killing you in your personal life, then what good does it do? We're going to get to the kingdom one day together, y'all. We're going to get there together, y'all. I love y'all. Y'all have a good one. And thank you for the prayers for my body. Thank you.